Hello and welcome to Greetingstar. I'm so glad you could join me today. I have 4 cards for you today, and I'm using these as thank you cards, but you could also use them as Valentine's Day cards because they're heart cards. And I'm going to be using some dies that I have and some specialty paper. So this is some vellum, some red vellum, some silver vellum, some silver foil paper, and some like glitter paper. And so I'm going to take the Spellbinder's heart die and cut it out of the silver, and then the smaller Sizzix heart die. And I'm just trying to decide where I want to cut on the page so that I can get the look that I want with those smaller hearts there. And then I'm going to cut out the glitter paper. I think this is actually Cricut shimmer paper. And I'm going to line those 2 hearts up. But first I'm going to put this beautiful lace outline around it. And then I'm going to cut a frame because the red vellum that I'm using, you can't put glue behind it. It'll be visible since the vellum is transparent. So I'm just going to cut a frame by layering these 2 together. Now what I'll do first is I'm going to cut out the first rectangle, and then I'll put the die, the smaller die inside of it, and cut it a second time to create that frame that you'll see here in just a second. You could put them together and run it through the machine once, but I always find my frames come out wonky when I do that. So I like to cut the rectangles one at a time just to be able to place it more evenly on the page and make sure I get a nice straight rectangle. So then once I have this laid out, that's what the card's going to look like. I'm going to use some adhesive, some sort of dimensional adhesive. That's what I'm thinking. Dimensional adhesive just to pop up this heart here. So these little glue dots have a certain thickness to them, and I'd say like 1/8 of an inch, so that it kind of raises that heart up just a little bit and gives it some dimension, which looks kind of nice on your card. So once I'm done with that, I'm gonna use some tape adhesive for the back of this one. This is double-sided adhesive roll from scrapbook.com, and I'm just going to be putting very small pieces in between those spaces where those hearts are, which you can see that I'm doing here. And this adhesive is pretty strong, and it's going to make sure that that vellum will adhere to that glitter paper very well. I just didn't trust using other adhesives for that shimmer paper with a small heart. So I'm going to remove that backing on that double-sided adhesive and stick it down to my heart, and you'll get to see the effect. I think it's very pretty. I like all the different layers, and I think that gives it quite a bit of interest and catches the eye a lot. So I'm just using the supplies that I have built up over time and trying to find interesting combinations for these cards. And again, you can use these for Valentine's Day or thank you cards, or I miss you, anything that a heart message would include. So feel free to use it however you want. And this is also some like double-sided adhesive. I got this at a warehouse sale, and it's like not a brand name that I'm aware of, but it's just what I have, so it's what I'm going to use. And I encourage you to do the same. You look through your supplies, see what you have, and use what you have. Sometimes we have a tendency to buy things. I do this, especially if it's on sale. I like to buy things on sale, and then it sits in my stash, and I never break it out and use it. So it's something you should do. And this is like really thin. So I needed something very small for this frame since it's a very thin frame. So that's why I looked for it and found it in my own stash. So I did have a little bit of trouble trying to get that backing off of it. But here's a little trick you can do when you're dealing with pieces that are very delicate. I saw this on YouTube with other crafters. They just pull off a portion of the tape, and that helps them position it properly so that way if they need to do any adjustments, it won't stick all the way to the card, and then they'll end up having to rip it to take it up. So this is a good way to do it. Only pull up a portion of the adhesive. And I'm having a little bit of trouble here with this particular one. What I should have done is probably cut off and thrown that first few inches of tape away because it was discolored, and so because I think it's been sitting in my drawer for so long. So anyway, once this is done, if I ever get this off here, I'll adhere it to that red vellum. And one of the reasons why I'm putting this frame is because, again, as I said earlier, you can't really put glue or adhesive on vellum without it showing through. So you have to have some sort of opaque piece of paper or image or something that you can put the adhesive behind so it won't show through the vellum. So that's what I'm going to do. And so you can see here, since I didn't pull up the tape all the way, I was able to easily reposition that. Now I'm going to use the same tape for the back of this to adhere it to my card. And this is an A2 sized card. It's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And you can see that over to the top left. I'll adhere it to the card once I get this adhesive down on the vellum. And I'm just trying to make sure that the tape and the paper stays straight. So you don't want to pull it real taut. You just kind of want to lay it on inch by inch as you go. And then put it on your card and you'll be good to go. Now with this thanks at the bottom that I cut out with my die cut letters, I end up using I cut a triangle for the A because I didn't like the one that came out of the die. It was just too small. So I actually cut another one, which you'll see in a moment. I'm just placing this heart, and I waited until the last minute to put that heart on because I wanted to make sure it was in the middle of the frame. So I didn't put the heart on first. I waited until the frame was on. So now I'm just going to place this little triangle that I cut myself out of the corner of a red piece of vellum for my A, and we're done with that card. So the next card, I'm going to use this shimmer paper and this foil paper, and I'm going to cut out this lace heart first, and then I'm going to use that other really pretty heart for the center of it. Those both come in the same Spellbinder set, and I'm going to layer it on top where that heart is. Now you could use another Cricut shimmer paper, the red, but I decided to go with this beautiful pink vellum. I thought that was very beautiful. So great card for like a sister or a mother or something like that. Now this is the vellum that I used for the first card that I cut the heart out of, and this is a Hero Arts fancy die called Confetti Hearts, Confetti Hearts. And I'm just going to use my Sizzix heart dies as well to create a heart frame for that opening that's on that silver vellum underneath this. So first I cut out the big heart, and then I'm just going to put that smaller heart die in the middle of this bigger heart to cut out a frame, a heart frame. And when I'm done with that, I'll adhere it to that silver paper. So see, creates a cute little frame. Now you could use a different color as well. You don't have to use the same color as the background paper. If you want to change it up a little bit, that's something you could try. And then I put these two hearts here. You could lay them side by side, but I decided to go ahead and lay them one on top of the other. And again, you can use different colors. You don't have to use the same thing. I just wanted to use the supplies that I had in front of me and not waste them or put them aside for another project. I wanted to try to coordinate them all together and use them all on, the pieces and parts on the 4 different cards that I was making today, which is kind of fun if you go ahead and create different cards out of the pieces that you're making as you go. So that's what I did, and I think it was a lot of fun to do it that way, and I ended up with a lot less scraps and waste and so on and so forth. And I'm just putting this adhesive on these little pieces where the hearts are not, and just going around the edges with my adhesive, and I'm going to put it on here. Now you can see that that red piece underneath was not as large as the card, but that's okay because this silver piece will cover it up. And if there's any edges on the right or the left, I can just actually only on the right, not on the fold, I can just trim it off with my paper trimmer. So that's that card, and we're moving on to the next one. This next one I'm going to use the silver foil underneath, so I adhered the shimmer paper to the silver foil. And then I'm going to use this die cut. It has the word thanks in the middle, and I'm going to use that in the large heart. So I'm just going to tape it down so it'll go through my die cutting machine without moving, and then you'll be able to see the word thanks right in the middle of that heart. Now, if you don't like the word thanks, you could use something else. And if you don't have a die cut, you could use a piece of paper and stamp a greeting. You could use any other word die cuts that you have. Just just use what you have and have fun doing it. That's my motto. The whole point of doing this card making and paper crafting is to bring joy to yourself and to bring joy to others. So I hope that I brought some joy to you today, and I hope you'll give these cards a try. Thanks so much and have a wonderful day.